So in this video we've got to finish these ceilings. We've got to tape all the joints, board out, fill all the screw holes and get somewhere close to decorating. Boarding out these ceilings would not have been possible without the help of my dad, who's been coming over once a week to give me a hand, which has just been great. So big thanks to Dad for giving us a hand with that. And you know, if handling these 8x4 sheets, whether it's trying to use a plasterboard lift or doing it with your husband or wife, it's pretty stressful, and having two people on it who kind of know what they're doing and can work together to fit it out, just it's worth a lot. Got about I think one sheet left over, if my calculations are right, so not too much wasted, which is great. Hopefully by the end of today ceilings will be done, the walls are pretty much finished now, loads of screw holes to fill and sand, and we'll keep you updated. So with all the joints taped on the ceiling, I just wanted to finish the couple of areas of wall that I'd left. Now this area here is below the Velux window, or where we'll be fitting one, but stupidly I'd measured based on the landing area where we've exposed the purlin, whereas this area still had the wall, so I had to actually cut that away. But what that left us with is the potential to build a nice little windowsill below it, and the bottom of the Velux opening will be flared. I then just finished boarding around the linings that you saw me do in the last video, so we're almost there with the walls. So this is a mixture of footage now. I did this over a couple of weeks, and we split the rooms into two really, and I was only doing it when I had another set of hands with me. So we're fitting, most of these are full width boards, just making sure they're cut slightly so they end on the rafters, because our rafters are not conventional modern centres, and we're using 100mm drywall bits through the insulation into the rafters. And this section here is just into the sort of storage area. Now we've insulated under the rafters there with even thicker insulation, so we use some even longer wood screws for some areas of that drywall. So when it came to it, it was just really a case of measure 2-3 times before we cut, because things were slightly on an angle or not perfectly straight. And of course, where we were joining against the stone wall, as we did with the walling, we had to scribe some of the boards. So one of us held up the board and the other just ran an edge against the wall there to scribe a pencil line for us to cut. Now I'm aiming for probably about a 3 to 5mm gap up most of this drywall at the end there, so I can fill that in and just have a bit of a smooth transition between the stone and the ceiling. When it came to the openings for the roof lights, we haven't got them on site, we still haven't even ordered them, which is not ideal. But I wanted to make sure that we left enough plasterboard to be able to cut it back and trim it nicely. So we've actually cut the openings out by probably about 50 to 60mm over the opening, and then we'll trim them back and get it all nice and neat when we've got the windows on site. So I'm fitting up to the top battens that I've put on the ridge there, and that's so we can run the cabling down, and we'll panel that out slightly lower. We'll put some counter battens along there, but it also gave us a good edge to butt the boards up to, and then we can measure down to the bottom. And while all this insulation is pulled in nice and tight with the washers that we used in the last stage, I am trying to push the boards up as we screw them in to make sure everything is really nicely clamped up against the rafters. For most of these we measured out the rafters, drew a faint line on the boards, and then we could run our screws in the correct positions all the way down, rather than poking holes in here, there and everywhere trying to find the rafters. So this is a bit of an afterthought here. Where we're fitting the shower here in the future, I need to build a stud wall out, and what we hadn't realised is the stud wall, in order to make it the right width for the shower tray, the stud wall wouldn't be coming out on a rafter. So I wanted to make sure that we had something strong to fix to it for the header of that stud wall. So I got a piece of timber and scribed around that, held it up to the plasterboard, held it up to the insulation, scribed around it, cut that layer out, and then hammered it home. And it was 50mm, so that ended up nice and flush. And that was screwed into the two rafters. And then that means that anywhere along there I've got a good strong fixing point. And then we simply taped over that with the foil tape and boarded over. And hopefully, having this video footage, I'll be able to work out roughly where it is. And then this is last night. I managed to get up there and just check over all these screws, make sure they're all sent below the paper or just slightly recessed, so that when we come to fill all the holes, we're not going to have any problems. So I'm just running my palette knife over there and making sure they're all drilled in nice and tight. And I figured you can't have too many fixings on these sloped ceilings, so I've gone quite a bit closer than you would on a wall. And these 100mm screws aren't cheap either, but anyway, better safe than sorry. So I'm going to touch on this in a short video, which will follow this one, on how we're going to go about finishing this room. We're not going to skim it, so we're taking a little bit of a change of direction there. But all will be explained in the next video. So thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.